Hi, friends, and welcome to Truth with Ruth, a witty, warm, and real podcast about anything and everything health and fitness. I'm your host, Ruth Edwards, and joined by
co-host Evan Edwards.
And this episode is going to be about breathing. So we were just laughing, and he showed me a video clip of Ariana Grande, who has a song, Breathing, and was it Jimmy Fallon? Asked her, what's the song about? And she goes, well, it's about
breathing.
So what's this episode about? Well, just that, breathing. So, all right. However, here's the thing. As a Pilates teacher, as a group fitness instructor, as personal trainer, breath and using it with exercise is important, and it is helpful, and it has so much more meaning and depth than I think we even realize or give it credit for. Anyway, it deserves a lot of credit. And I think it's easy for us to take it for granted and not even think about it. But I do find it helpful, at least in my exercise practices, to think about it and to give it some attention. And so here's a story I'll start off with. I had been practicing Pilates for a few years. I'd had a friend who watched me enter into that journey. Then she became a Pilates client for a little while. Then she moved away, but she continued to practice Pilates. Well, then she started to produce a newsletter, so more in the realm of mental health. And she asked if she could talk about Pilates and refer some people to me. Anyway, and I read the article. And in the article, she said that as she watched me begin to practice Pilates, one of the biggest things that she noticed about, really it was my demeanor, was that it looked like I could finally breathe again. And so then I reached out to her and said, is that true? Is that what... So then we had this conversation about, not that I doubted it was true, but it was just like, what? So I reached out to her. We had a deeper conversation, or more in-depth conversation. And she said, yes, it was like the weight of the world was off of your shoulders and you could finally breathe again. So I then needed to take a moment to think back to, well, what was going on in my life at that time. And it wasn't just that I began practicing Pilates. Some other things were happening at the same time that probably allowed me the space to be able to, quote, breathe again. However, did the breathing component of Pilates and what it was doing for me, was that really important and helpful? Yes. And so this episode is not to talk about Pilates, because we've already done that, but it is going to come up.
Yeah.
So, or be part of the conversation. So, well, first let's just, as I thought about, gosh, there's so many different ways we could go with breathing. But let's talk about it in terms of, well, health and fitness. Well, you need to breathe to be alive.
Yes.
Okay. So then that got me thinking, well, breath of life. Well, there's a spiritual component, and we could definitely go off in that direction. But as a believer, right, we believe what the Bible tells us is that what makes us different as humans is that God breathed that life force into us, and that's how we're different. So we have His Spirit, and, well, as believers, and then but that breath of life, and without it we die. So we have to have We have to have that. So there's a spiritual component to it, and we won't spend a lot of time going down that path, but it definitely is a component. And so exercise and fitness is where we're going to spend most of our time. And well, health and fitness. So I had somebody ask me just a few weeks ago, actually. The question was, what is Pilates? So here we go again. And why should I do it? Mm-hmm. And as I was trying, just the 2-minute elevator speech, breath came up. And then another friend chimed in and said, well, I don't breathe correctly. And so then that led us into another conversation, and we're standing outside of the church building and I'm giving them breathing exercises. So, I mean, it really should be a component of when you're exercising, it should be a component. Because it's so helpful structurally, but then, for force to help you with moving a heavy object. Holding your breath could be bad. You could pass out, so it is helpful as far as exercise. Okay, so let's just talk about, I guess, the health benefits. Well, you got to breathe to stay alive.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
So what else can it do?
Well, your blood is what carries oxygen to your brain, to all your muscles and all your joints. So it's really helpful for pushing the blood to all those places, which is going to oxygenate your brain. You'll be more awake. And then your joints will feel better. And so there's 2 primary ways that you can get that heart rate up to push that blood into all those places. And it's not like you can pick and choose. Right? It's going to go everywhere. So one is, to focus on deep breathing. Okay. And just that. It's not going to get your heart rate up much, but the act of deep breathing is going to push that blood a little bit deeper and get your heart rate up just a little bit. Then, of course, exercise. And then as you're exercising, if you will also coordinate your breath with your movement, and it is helpful, I think, to think about it, but you can also just go for a walk and not think about it. Mm-hmm. And so I think therein is one of the differences is, what type of exercise are you doing? Do you have to think about coordinating your breath with your movement when you're going for a walk around the neighborhood? No. Is it help when you're practicing Pilates for certain movements? Yes. If you're squatting really heavy or deadlifting or pushing really heavy weight over your head, is it helpful to coordinate the breath and think about it? Yes. So it just depends. Yeah. Okay. So where do we want to, what do I want to talk about first with the breath? Okay. Put one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. Mm-hmm. All right. You too. And if you're listening or watching, you do it too.
Unless you're driving.
Okay.
Or.
Okay. Maybe unless you're driving, but if you're out walking, listening, then you can do this. I don't care. It doesn't matter what you look like and what anybody thinks. You are taking care of you. Okay. One hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. So if you're driving, you can do one hand. You can do the other. Or operating some heavy machinery. Okay. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take an inhale. And as you inhale, I want you to expand both your chest and your belly. So ready? Inhale. Then on your exhale, the chest lowers and the belly comes in deeper or tighter. So they contract or come down or in. So again, inhale, they both expand. Exhale, they both come in and down, or whatever words you want to use there. So now I'm going to count. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Again, 2, 3, 4. And exhale, 2, 3, 4.
I
You
messed
did,
up.
you did the
I will-
opposite.
I messed up.
It's okay.
Well, I didn't
So-
start when you started. I thought you were just, I don't know,
It's okay.
doing a demonstration and then.
And I was going to stop. Well, anyway, so the purpose of that little demonstration was to, when you inhale, you want the lungs and the belly to expand. Now that's what we would call deeper breathing. Can you breathe shallow and just breathe up here in your chest? Yes. Now, that is not going to be helpful when you are exercising, when you need to calm down, when, I don't know, you're right. Shallow breathing does tend to lead to some anxiety and higher heart rate and things like that. And so that deeper breathing is very helpful for calming our nervous system down. And so that's one of the ways that it's like a lot of people don't give it time and attention. We take it for granted. We don't think about it, but we're walking around just breathing really shallow. And then we wonder why our heart rates are up and we have anxiety. And I mean, there can be lots of reasons why we have anxiety, but that can be one of the contributors. So it's really, really helpful for regulating the nervous system. So when my friend said that was one of the things that she observed about me, that was when I started the practicing Pilates, that's probably what was happening, as I was finally having about an hour where I was breathing deeply and pushing that oxygen not only to all my muscles and joints, but also to my brain. And so it was helping regulate my nervous system and helping me actually breathe and not carry the weight of the world on my shoulders. So it's really helpful for stress relief. And okay, here's the thing, y'all. You can go on TikTok, social, Instagram, Facebook, wherever, and you can find breathing experts and breath experts, and they know way more than I do. And you can find all these different breath patterns and guided breathing exercises and all that. And I would encourage you to do that. There's apps. I mean, okay. So you've got tons of resources at your fingertips. You just got to use your fingertips to put it in the search bar and search for it. But, if you can't figure it out on your own, then go look up one of those resources and follow along and do it. So one of what we just did, inhale for 4, exhale for 4, that's really, really simple. Now, you can take it a step further, and you can inhale for 4, hold your breath for 4, exhale for 4. They call that box breathing. Now, here's the thing. You can take that number 4 and you can change it to whatever you want. 4 is a good place to start. And then as you because just like anything else, it can take some practice, but you can lengthen the inhale, you can lengthen the amount you hold, and you can lengthen the exhale. So what I have found to be really, really helpful is to lengthen my exhale. So in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 8, 12. And I find that to be very, very helpful to calm myself, to push toxins out of my lungs, to deepen a stretch. I find, if I'll exhale for 8 to 12, I find that really helpful for me. So again, you can make that number whatever you want it to be, like whatever makes sense to you, or you might have to build up to 8 or 12. But here's the thing about the exhale. So a lot of people think that to catch your breath, that it's the inhale. No, it's the exhale. So when you've been exercising and your heart rate's ramped up, then what I oftentimes in my group fitness classes will tell the participants is get control of your breath. I try not to use that catch your breath, but everybody knows what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
But get control of your breath. And the quickest, in my opinion, this is my opinion, a quick way to get control of your breath is to inhale and exhale through your nose, okay, not your mouth, nose, and in for 4, exhale for 8, 12, as long as possible. And that will help you get control of your breath and bring that heart rate down pretty quickly. And again, I have found that to be very successful and helpful. I'm not saying that's the only way. I'm not saying that's what works for everybody, but it has worked really well for me and most of my group fitness participants. So get control of your breath, inhale, maybe even if you're feeling sleepy sometimes and yawning, it's lack of oxygen. And so that deep breath, but it's not always about the inhale. It's a lot about the exhale and really pushing everything out, and then that pushes your blood through your body. Another avenue that, or kind of topic related, is, so I used to get a lot of headaches, and I still am prone to them, but it's much better. I've done a lot of healing work in that regard. And it's a combination of things, but one of the things is, especially when the weather is turning and there's some kind of storm front coming through, and the barometric pressure changes. Well, it really is a thing that maybe your head hurts or your joints hurt, but guess what it comes down to?
Breathing.
Oxygen. Yes. So it comes down to the oxygen. So one of the things and this was actually a discussion with my holistic chiropractor. He's the one that I worked with, and we worked on it, is I do some deep breathing, that in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for however long, 8, 12 counts. And if I'll do that for about 2 minutes-ish, my headache will usually go away. And this is where, especially, it's like staying on top of it. Like I'm just feeling that headache come on, then if I'll jump on it and do that breathing work, and I might have to do it multiple times a day, but if I'll jump on it pretty quick, then I can usually catch it and I'm not worried, like it's not bothering me the rest of the day. Now it doesn't work all the time, but if it's a weather related barometric pressure, stress, anxiety, headache, then that works. So that's a little helpful tip. Okay, then let's talk about the body itself. So I have scoliosis, but this, don't tune out, because this is for everybody, not just, maybe one of the reasons it became so important and helpful is because I have scoliosis, but it can be helpful for anybody and everybody. So where do most people hold their tension?
Their neck and shoulders.
Yeah. And so you have, some people call it multiple diaphragm. You really only have one diaphragm, but some physical therapists, physios will say, well, you also have some pockets, or quote diaphragms, unquote, in your shoulders. Well, your sinuses, your shoulders, then of course your real diaphragm, and then your hips. So those are places that we tend to hold a lot of tension, especially many people, neck and shoulders. So if you find yourself, those shoulders are creeping up, your neck is starting to hurt, maybe that your shoulders are hurting, then some deep breathing work might be really helpful. If you have scoli, or maybe it's developing, or a shoulder is bothering you, a rib is bothering you, a hip is bothering you, then it might be helpful to do some deep breathing work. And yes, you can do it anywhere, sitting, standing, but I would highly recommend that you practice it laying down on your back. So lay flat on your back, and then you can do a variety of things with your legs. You can either bend your knees and have your feet flat, or you could put your feet up on something like an ottoman, a sofa, but knees are bent at a 90-degree angle. And if you're a little more advanced, then you're gonna slide that booty all the way up against a wall and put your legs straight up the wall.
Mhm.
Now, some people are really tight in their low back, glutes, hamstrings, and you might not be able to get to that point, but that would be something you could work towards. But anyway, so you're laying on your back, arms are either out to the side or down by your hips. Legs, either knees are bent and your feet are flat, or knees up on, or lower legs up on a sofa. Okay. Everybody with me?
I think so.
Okay. Then arms. If take a moment and figure out where your shoulders are. Are your shoulders able, the back of your shoulder, are they able to lay flat down on the floor? If not, you're going to move those arms around and figure out where you need them to be to get the back of the shoulder to lay flat. Hopefully. Okay. If you're rounded, you maybe do a lot of desk work, then they might not lay down. But so even if you have to open the arms all the way out to the side in a T position, but it's possible you may be able to slide them down to your hips. But anyway, you can slide them around to figure out the best position there. Okay, now you're in that position.
Mm-hmm.
Am I clear so far?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then now you're going to do your breath work. And so don't worry about abs, pelvis, all that at the moment. We're just going to focus on the breath. And so you're going to do that breath work. Inhale for 4, maybe hold for 4, exhale for 4, or even longer. And do that multiple times. And then probably what you'll notice is that the shoulders start pushing down, melting, some people say, into the floor. Mm-hmm. And that right tension, stress is leaving the body. But that's one of those areas, that's one of those quote diaphragm areas that breath is just so helpful for opening the front of the shoulder or the chest so that those shoulders actually lay down. And we're using gravity mm-hmm. to help us open that chest. Now, if you wanted to then progress to put one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, and do some breath work there to really, how big can I make my chest and my belly? How low can I get them to go? And now you're engaging the abdominals, especially the transverse abdominis, which is those deep muscles that are really part of your core, mm-hmm. your diaphragm, and your pelvic floor. And now you're doing core work. Well, how about that? And you're not even standing up. Mm-hmm. So, and you can really engage all that. And if you also hold your P, I didn't say that. I said pelvic floor, but okay. So let me give you those things real quick again, so that I'm clear. Your diaphragm, your pelvic floor, and your transverse abdominis. Those are 3 parts of your core. Mm-hmm. So the deep muscles, abdominal muscles that run around your waist like a corset, hold your P, and then of course taking a deep breath. And so there's a 4th part of your core, and that's your teeny tiny muscles running up and down either side of your spine. They're called multifidi. And I might be pronouncing it wrong. I'm Southern, so somebody says it like me, though. Yeah. Anyway, so when you're laying flat on your back, you may, right, those little spinal muscles are not engaging as much, but when you do that deep breath work, they are engaging some. Okay, so there you have it. Now you're doing core work while you're also doing your deep breathing. Okay, here's a fun element to add that will really kick it up a notch if you really want to get into this. And it really helped me a ton with it's called postural restoration. And again, breath is a big part of that posture. And so when I started the conversation with scoliosis, that's how I found it. Was I was looking for some scoliosis help, like experts who actually know what to do with that, to give me some relief in a couple of areas. And I ended up finding PT who has postural restoration certifications, and that's a whole area. And visited her a few times, and I learned so much. But breath is such a big part of it. Okay, so I learned this technique called balloon breathing. Okay, so you could do this sitting or standing, but the position I just described, where you're laying flat on your back, your knees are bent, and you take a balloon and you put it in your mouth. All right, and you're going to inhale for 4. You're going to hold your breath for 4. No, sorry. You're going to inhale for 4. You're going to exhale. Now you are using your mouth and blowing that exhale into the balloon. Okay, so you're exhaling for as long as you can. Then you hold your breath. Then you'd repeat until you blow up the balloon. All right, so probably for the average person, it's going to take about 4 or 5. And I'm just talking about a normal size balloon, nothing tiny, nothing humongous, just an average size balloon. It's going to take you 4 or 5 times to blow up that balloon. And you're also trying to not hold the balloon with your fingers, just your mouth. Because what's that force you to do?
Use your tongue. I don't know.
Well, you got to clamp your mouth shut and inhale through your nose. Then when you are exhaling into the balloon, you're only using your mouth, right? So it's separating that nose and mouth piece. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a whole little learning experience too. I mean, it only takes usually a time or two, and then you're like, oh, okay, now I got it. But that is actually very, very, very relaxing. And then for me with the Scoli, it was helping my shoulder, it was helping my ribs and my hips. And then we added some movements into that, especially for my hips, my SI joint. And so helpful. I'm not going to get into all that right now, but oh my goodness. So now I can take that balloon breathing exercise and I can do it without having to blow up a balloon. But when I first started and practiced, I used the balloon. And like I said, now I can do it without the balloon. But very, very, very helpful for helping relax those shoulders, and get my hips and my SI joints to calm down and behave and reset. So taking that for the average person, average listener, into your, let's say you are exercising. Well, whether it's you're going for a walk, whether you're in the gym, whether you're lifting weights, whether you're taking a group fitness class, pay attention to how you're breathing. When you are, let's take a squat. So you sit, stand. When you stand up, that's when you're exerting the most force. And so that's when you're going to exhale. Let's say you're walking and you're not like killing it to get that 15-minute mile, but you're not necessarily leisurely either. But you got a decent little pace going on. You could, a count of 4 is really easy. So you could do that count of 4. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, or 8, And so just spend at least a few minutes counting and breathing. Why? Well, because you haven't been able to think about anything else, it's a huge stress relief. Huge stress relief. Because you can't think about anything else while you're thinking about that and doing that. And then also it's just so good for pushing the oxygen everywhere. So your brain needs oxygen to think clearly, to be sharp, and then of course muscles and joints. And something this was a long time ago, but a neighbor of my parents, elderly, she was out walking. We stopped, spoke to her, and she said, "Yeah, I have to get out and walk 2 or 3 times a day because of my arthritis, because if I don't, everything just hurts." And this was, like I said, a long time ago, but I've always remembered that conversation. And I think for some people who do hurt, their joints hurt, or they have an injury, or is like that, oh, I don't exercise, or I don't move a lot, or I don't walk, or whatever, because I hurt. Well, exactly. So the less you move, the more you're going to hurt.
Yeah.
And it might be a little counterintuitive, but if people who are hurting, and again, there's always exceptions, but go out for a little walk, and that oxygen, the movement will get the oxygen pumping everywhere, and the oxygen will help everything feel better. And the catchphrase I like to say is motion is lotion. Motion is lotion. And so one time I went into the pharmacy to pick something up, and this was also several years ago, and the clerk was having a hard time, and she said, my joints hurt so bad, and I think the weather was bad, and she said something, and I said, well, just keep moving, motion is lotion. And she said, where do I find that? So she thought it was an actual product, like the name of a product. So that's my joke now whenever I say it's motion is lotion. It's not a product. It's just, you got to do it. You got to put the work in. Motion is lotion. It doesn't have to be like difficult. Just move your body. So there was something else that I wanted to say. So the breathing with your exercises. So the Pilates method is really good at that. Some group fitness instructors, personal trainers are really good at reminding you to inhale here, exhale here. And why is that helpful? Why is it helpful to coordinate breath with movement? Got any ideas?
No. Tell me.
Well, and I don't know that I have a super scientific clear answer either, but again, it's going to be, it's going to probably support, well, I do know this. It supports your organs, right? I'm going to come back. So a more detailed example on that. So it definitely supports your spine or supports your organs. But then there's a physiological component, and your brain is working with your body, with your breath. And so it's like taking all those things, your mental health, your spiritual health, and your physical health, and forcing it to all work together. And now you feel better, and you will experience some stress relief. And one thing that listeners who are walkers, joggers, bikers, swimmers, so repetitive movement, especially going forward, probably already know this. Now, whether they realize they know it or not, but they probably already know this. There is something about the repetitive movement and breathing that you tend to process thoughts and feelings. So some people walk or exercise like that, do that cardio with a friend. And what are they probably doing the entire time? Talking. And processing thoughts and feelings. And even when I was a mental health counselor, and I was working with youth, like anytime we'd go to a conference for continuing education stuff, that was always hey, if you're working with kids, especially teenagers, how do you get them to talk?
Walk.
Yeah. Or shoot hoops. Something like get physical activity will get people talking often. And so I am sure there's a very scientific explanation for all of that. I don't know exactly what that is or how to articulate it, but I know it works.
Mhm.
And it, again, isn't that a really cool, intelligent design of God
Mhm.
that he did for us? And so if we have tools in our toolbox if we would just use them.
Mhm.
But yes, that repetitive movement with breathing, with maybe with a friend, maybe you're listening to the podcast but you're processing thoughts and feelings, and so it's stress relief,
Mhm.
and um, it works. Okay, let's now go to I am going to talk a little bit more about, um, I'm going to use some Pilates examples, but please understand this is not isolated to Pilates. It can be, this is where I learned it, but it can be with any form of exercise. And that is that we have some general rules of thumb that when you are exerting the force, you exhale. For example, like I described the squat earlier. When you're standing up is when you're exhaling, because that's when you're exerting the force. So a bicep curl, you're pulling the dumbbell or weight towards your arm. That's the force. So you're exhaling when you do that. If you're pushing weight over your head, you're exhaling as you push the weight over your head, because the exhale is going to help you push that weight around. Now, with core work, abdominal work, there are some general rules of thumb, but it's a general rule of thumb. It's not dogmatic. It's not, oh my gosh, you're going to hurt yourself if you do it opposite. It's just a general rule of thumb to help support you. So the general rule of thumb is that on your inhale, that because what? Because your chest and belly are expanded, that's giving your torso, your trunk, your spine some support. And that's when your legs are going to extend from your body. So think abdominal work. So a crunch or a sit up or the legs go out away from the body. Then that's when you inhale. Then when you exhale, the lungs come, or the chest comes down, the belly and waist come in and down or tighter. And then you're pulling the legs in closer into the body, or the chest up, whatever you're doing, a crunch or sit up or whatever. And because that exhale is the force. And also if you're pulling your legs in, they can come in a bit deeper with that exhale. So that's a general rule of thumb. Can you do it the opposite? Yeah, you could do it the opposite, either by accident, like you did and went at the beginning, or just maybe you want to give your brain a challenge, or maybe you want to give your core abdominal exercises more of a challenge. And so, yes, you could flip it and make it a bit more challenging, just for whatever reason. So, but it's a general rule of thumb. But as a group exercise instructor and teacher, what I find is I'm going to cue the inhale and exhale, but I'm not walking around like a drill sergeant making sure that people are inhaling when I say inhale and exhale when I say exhale. Because most of the time it's a reminder for them to just do the breath. Because again, when people are exercising, or they're getting caught up in maybe the form or whatever we're doing, sometimes they forget to breathe.
Yeah.
And hold their breath. And I don't need anybody passing out. I don't need anybody puking. I don't need anybody, falling down and breaking anything because they held their breath. So a lot of times it's a general reminder, not that it has to be perfectly coordinated. But coordination it helps our brain. So opposite arm and leg. So walking, opposite arm, opposite leg. You can sit and do that, opposite arm and leg. You can lay down on your back and do it, opposite arm, leg. Swimming, opposite arm, leg. You can flip over to all fours, opposite arm and leg. and you can alternate. You can just do one side, then do the other side. And if you also will coordinate your breath with that, oh, you are doing so much anti-aging work right there.
Mm-hmm.
So you are having to think,
Yeah.
and the opposition is really good brain work. Then you're also breathing with it. That's taking more oxygen to your brain. And so really, really good brain work and anti-aging work. I mean, you just anti-aged yourself.
Yeah.
It's really quick and easy.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, what else about breath?
I don't know. What else about breath? You pulled up a verse earlier. Were you gonna
Oh yeah, I did.
tie that in somehow before we wrap up?
Yeah, let's do that. So Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have to pull that one up on my phone. Genesis, the breath of life comes directly from God. Life originates with God, breathing it into his creatures. It is not self-existent. So like God gave us breath of life. And then as a believer, John 1, who is the breath of life? And that's Jesus. Jesus is described as the breath of life. He's also the bread of life, but that's a whole other topic. That's another topic. But anyway, breath, it is connected to our spirit. It is connected to, obviously, our life force. It is connected to our mental health, our physical health, just all the things. And that's why I think so many people, and including me sometimes, we take it for granted and don't even realize, oh, we haven't deep, I'm getting ready to say it wrong. We haven't deep breathed in a while.
Uh-huh.
I haven't done my deep breathing. So that's why I think for me, one of the things, like, it's a habit for me to exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I exercise daily, I'm making sure I'm doing my breath work. And so that's what I'm saying. Breath work doesn't have to be a separate thing on your to-do list. It can be incorporated into things you already do. If you're already exercising, just make sure you're incorporating that breath work into your exercise.
Yeah.
Then if you're not already exercising, well, you should be. So, even if you're like, wherever you're starting, you're just starting to incorporate it, that's fine. Incorporate the breath work too. So good for your brain, so good for your mental health, so good for stress, so good for your joints. Motion is lotion. Mm-hmm. And so it's just so good for you. And like, again, you know that, but we don't think about it, yeah. I guess. Mm-hmm. There's probably so many more things to say about breathing, but I'm going to be like, I guess, Ariana Grande and say, but it's about breathing. So just breathe, y'all. You just breathe. But sometimes it is taking a moment to work on it, add it in somewhere, take a few moments, practice, do the balloon exercise. It's really cool the first time or two you do it, because you're like, wait, what? And and again, like how much if I could explain it, like really emphasize how much my shoulders laid down into the table that I was on after I did that, or while I was doing that balloon breathing exercise, and my hips, like, I don't want to say they fix themselves, but because I've got some lumbar stuff with the SI joint because of the scoli, it's like boom. It's like, how simple is that? Mm-hmm. Anyway, it's really, really simple. Yeah. And so if you drive a lot, you can incorporate it. If you have a commute, you can incorporate it. If you're already exercising, incorporate it. If you don't know how, reach out. Like, you're like, I still don't know how. Well, reach out. A Pilates teacher, group fitness instructor, personal trainer, anybody, PT, anybody like that should be able to help you out. And again, there's tons of experts on the TikTok and the Instagram and all those places that apps that you can find breathing exercises, breathing, follow along, visualize, just all the things. Or you could just go for a walk and talk with a friend. That works too. So, yeah. All right.
Okay.
Breathing is so good for you. And it keeps you alive. So, yeah.
All right. Well, leave us a like, a follow, a 5-star review, a question, a comment if you feel drawn to leave a question or a comment.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Yep.
And Instagram at truthwithruth.pod.
And you can also, if you want some workout videos with some guided breath work, because I that's just part of my how I teach. You can go to my Patreon channel, which is Patreon. The links are out there, but Patreon Reignite Health and Fitness, and you could buy a video or become a monthly member, and that would work too. If you want that, then. And if you want to put the breathing with the exercise. So, and it helps us keep the lights on.
Yes.
So, yeah. All right. Thanks for joining us, friends. And I'm going to change what I say at the end.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I started saying it back in when I first became a Pilates teacher, 2019, 2020. But then I got dinged for it because of the C word, COVID. And so I couldn't use it as a hashtag anymore, which is so ridiculous. I didn't say what I want to say, but it's ridiculous. So that now I am going to say it though. Okay. And what you're going to do is because this is my personal journey, is sometimes you have to fight for your health. And I'm talking about your general wellness, health, and fitness. And so sometimes you got to dig your heels in and dig deep, and you take control of your own health. You know yourself the best. You're going to be your own best advocate. Truth with Ruth is about giving you some tips and tricks and truth without selling you a bunch of stuff, and keeping it real. And so, but what that means though is not you got to do the work. I can't do it for you. Evan can't do it for you. A doctor can't do it for you. Your physical therapist can't do it for you. Your personal trainer can't do it for you. Can we cheer you on and coach you and encourage you? But you are the one that actually has to do the work. But you can do it. And it's worth doing so that you have good quality life while you are on this planet. So that's how we're going to end it from now on. You might have to remind me. Fight for your health, friends. That was a long explanation, but okay. Fight for your health. Thank you. See you next time.